I think everyone already knows that Sans and Papyrus are named after the font they speak in, but the reason that specifically skeletons are formatted in this way is because it's actually a reference to a webcomic made by the artist J.N. Weedle. This comic is about a skeleton named after the font Helvetica, and this artist is also credited on Undertale as a fashion design for Undyne and special inspiration for Madvillain, Sans and Papyrus. On the topic of Papyrus, originally his name wasn't even supposed to be Papyrus, it was named after Times New Roman. As you can see in these extremely early Toby Fox sketches, he also had like a way different personality, with Toby Fox commenting that he had no redeeming qualities. This page also includes this, has a brother named Comic Sans and a redacted name Redacted. In general, I do recommend looking at all of these old Toby Fox sketches. I like this one of Frisk, I like the old like weird UI concept. There's this one of Flowey Wet, Grok. Can we enhance? This is one of the only mentions of the character Grandpa Semi. We can assume that this character was cut pretty early in development, because the only mention of them even in a finished build of the game is in the Korean version of the Undertale demo. In general, there's not a crazy amount of cut characters. There's these test enemy designs, which I'm a big fan of. There's Big Bob, who I assumed was like a test too, but the wiki says he's there as like a joke or like an Easter egg. Also, when you look Big Bob up, he's a Friday Night Funkin' mod. So there's this fucking creature, there's this like Homestuck guy. There's my personal favorite, 98 Robot, big fan of this guy. Yeah, there's not really much here, but there is a reason to why when data mining the game there's not a ton of cut content. It's pretty obvious that Toby Fox knew people were gonna do that, so out of necessity, he kind of almost played into it. There's this famous scary fucking audio named This Way. Obviously, so it would be the first file you see, I'm assuming to scare people off. Also, before the game was patched, there was this message hidden in the files.
Part of this game's charm is the mystery of how many options or secrets there are. If you are reading this, please don't post this message or this information anywhere. Doing secrets will become pointless. By the way, most of the seemingly unused text/files are used. If you can find the in-game context for an asset, you can show it off. But if you can't, it probably means you haven't looked hard enough. Living in a world like this, where people can simply cheat out the answers from a code, your impatience has really damaged you, hasn't it?
And then after the game was patched, it was changed to this.
Greetings. You have made yourself completely clear. Understood. I, your humble servant, will follow you to the utmost.
Undertale Kickstarter. Here you can find the $1,000 backer reward, which was originally a Homestuck reference, but unfortunately it wasn't. Also, apparently the reason the Toriel sprite has brown eyes is because of these like card things on the Kickstarter page. My only source for this is one tweet with 5 likes, one of these likes being me. I asked the person who posted it where they got this information, and they said they forgot. But this is true. This is objectively like the colors match up. I have no idea how this happens, but it's true, and there's no other explanation for this. There's also the Undertale instruction manual promised here. Yeah, if you don't know, the original Undertale demo came with this HTML instruction manual. This has some interesting stuff, like the first instance of "It's a beautiful day outside," and then depending on what route you take in the demo, the final page changes into one of these 3. And even though the stretch goal was met, the instruction manual obviously never actually ended up being in the game. Ball. This is a really weird one, but if you type the word ball in the title screen, you hear this sound. I have no idea why. No one knows why. Maybe it's referencing this thing from the Kickstarter. Undyne is a Saiyan. Throughout the game, there is a running joke about Undyne thinking that anime is a legitimate source for what humanity is like. For example, there's a giant sword in Undyne's house being there because, according to her research, humans have swords 10 times their size. There's also the fact that Undyne's armor is almost exactly the Frieza Force armor from Dragon Ball. More evidence for this being this drawing in the Undertale art book, showing that Undyne was supposed to have this aura around her and the vertical hair. I personally believe that her armor being modeled after Saiyan armor is some kind of attempt at intimidating a potential human enemy in a fight. And you might be asking, oh, why are you bringing your fan theories, your fan fiction into this factual video? And listen, buddy, The wiki backs me up on this one, so I think the biggest logical anomaly regarding Undertale is in exactly what order the Dreamer family was named and characterized. If you've been around the Undertale fandom, you've likely seen some variation of this image. There are some things here that I would consider stretches, but there's so many different connections here that if you really think about it, there's no way that Toby Fox could have made this group of characters without just basing them entirely off their naming. I'll explain what I mean by this. Let's take Azrael for example. His name is an anagram to the Tohu character Sariel, and if you look at it, you can definitely tell it inspired the god of hyperdeath design. But the name Azrael is also almost an exact anagram to the name Raz, which is a character based on Toby Fox from his older brother's unfinished RPG Maker game. So now the only way I could imagine the origins of this name is if Toby counted the anagram for Raz and also the anagram for Sariel, just one of them, and then turned Sariel's logging into the religious response of that one and use it about Toriel and Azrael. We actually should talk about Toriel for a second. The name Toriel obviously being a pun on tutorial and also being half of Azrael's name, so we can assume that the placement of Azrael's mother as a parody in video game tutorials was only put in the story because of the naming convention. On top of that, she bonded with Sans because she likes puns, and both of the names are puns. Undyne? Undyne means water creature. Undyne the Undying is the water creature in the game that doesn't die. And it doesn't even stop there. You could say, oh, it's just a creative way to come up with a cast of characters. But do you guys know what Undertale and Deltarune are also anagrams to? Unrelated. I think there's a solid chance he made the game about going to the underground because it was an anagram to the word unrelated. I don't know if this is a corn-plating situation, but I always assumed that the Undertale naming convention came as an afterthought for the characters, but now I genuinely think that the entire main story of Undertale came from Toby Fox randomly scrolling Wikipedia. Okay, no, I'm not even finishing this. Okay, I wrote this thing about the Wikipedia, and then after that, I found out